Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Angie. This is New Path Tarot. And today I'm going to do messages that are from your ancestors and or spirit guides. And I'm saying both because sometimes we don't really have a lot of ancestors. So if you don't, then spirit will fill in the blanks. If you do, then you'll hear from your ancestors. Now, having said that, right now I'm picking the cards for your piles to start with. Actually, wait a minute, no I'm not. We're doing a general reading, so I'm picking the cards. I forgot. Yeah, no, I started out doing this with 3 piles and I ended up doing a message. My grandpa came through and started giving me messages that were specific to me. And I was like, well, maybe this will apply to other people too. And then I was like, yeah, no, this is just too randomly specific about my family that I think that, though it could apply to others, I think that my grandpa wanted to come through. So thanks, Grandpa, that was nice of you, but I'm moving on to everybody else now. And not sharing that part publicly with the world. I'll just start over. So, yeah, I am already getting some messages coming through for you guys here that aren't about me, thank God. And we'll just get going here. So what I want to tell you guys is, you know, a while back, like probably over a year now, I don't even remember, I did a mediumship series that is still on my channel. And so mediumship is something that interests me greatly, and I'm not that wonderful at it yet, but it's something that I continue to work on, even though you guys might not see it. Like, I am training for it personally. So I wanted to continue sharing that with you guys, and I feel like everybody should have mediumship skills. Like, it should just be a part of our daily lives as people, that the ones that pass over don't just go somewhere, they stay in our presence. And one of the ways that they communicate with us is in our dreams. So last night I had a dream about somebody who crossed over that may or may not come through as what she told me in the dream as a message. It's not just so much that they come to you and they're like, hey, I'm here. It's what they say that goes along with it. That's also equally important, if not more. But first you have to have the person. You have to prove that you have that person. So in your guys' reading, I don't know who is going to come through, but there may be a message that I give you guys that was from my dream last night, if it comes up as being relevant to share. Okay, so let's get started, you guys. Let's see who comes through first. I have multiple people here. It's like we vision them like standing in line, kind of. So whoever's the strongest energy comes through first. And I'm getting a younger woman who's coming through first. This is somebody who has a significance or an association with water. She could have been a water sign, that's easy, but it could be more than that too. It could be that she had something to do with the water. Ironically, the one who came to me in my dream last night was in the Navy, so that would apply perfectly. That's just another example of how that works, you know, associated with water. So let me see if I get any more information about her, other than she's a young woman. And because she seems to be, sometimes they show up at ages that they weren't when they were alive, by the way. So whoever this younger woman is, she's showing up at about 25-ish at this time, but she's telling me that she's not 25 when she passed, but that's how that was like her favorite age to be. That was the age that she either had the most fun or had the most like significant memories, or something significant happened to her at the age of 25. Therefore, that's why she is bringing that up. And she probably, for some of you, like, because this is a general reading, it's going to apply to everybody differently. For some of you who have had a grandmother who passed, this is a grandmother who had a very youthful energy. And that's why she's coming through as younger to you, is to explain to you that this is how she chooses to see herself. So don't be surprised if when you pass one day, you see your grandmother and she is younger than you at the time of your passing. And you're like, okay, wait a minute, you're my grandma, but you're like in your 20s. This is weird. And then she's like, yeah, well, would you expect me to be like 80s and in my 80s and frailing? And you're like, oh, this is so weird. Well, that's an overall message, by the way, is that when you cross over, people will sometimes appear to you how you remember them, just so that you recognize them, but then they will show you how they want to be seen. And this happens in dreams too, by the way. So you're like, you ever have somebody where you're like, wow, you're so familiar, and I can't put my finger on where I know you from. Where do I know you from? That feeling is what you get with mediumship a lot. It's almost like an itch you can't scratch. You're like, I know that person's energy. I know that person's soul. I just cannot pick up on where I know them from. So familiar. Well, you might have known them from this life, or you might have known them from a past life, and that's even harder to remember because, well, we all know why that's harder to remember. How many of us remember our past lives, except for in bits and pieces, fragments? So anyways, again, this could be a grandmother coming through for you that has a youthful energy. And as far as any messages she has, her message coming through youthful is for you to remember that you are not the age that your body is or that your mind is. You are the age that you feel. And if you're not feeling youthful lately, if you're feeling like you're aging and like this is it, I guess it's downhill from here, that kind of mentality. Like if you're noticing like you're getting wrinkles and stuff and you're like, oh my God, I'm getting old, or whatever. Anyways, any issues of aging is where I'm going here. If you're noticing any negative self-talk or beliefs regarding aging and versus youthfulness, then her message to you is, for one, it's just part of the process of this life. Like, we all are going to, at some point, get old. At least that's the idea here. And then pass on. And then when you pass on, then you can choose to be whatever you want. But in the short term, it's just part of the process. But she says it doesn't have to be like so concrete where it's like just accept it and get over it and move on and be like, this is how it's supposed to be, and I guess I'm just old now. She's saying it doesn't have to be like that. It's a mentality. Okay, so that's her. I'm going to put her card upside down so I don't keep being drawn to it. Let us see, because now we have a lot of males. We only have one other female, or at least we have a female on a card with 3 females. So we have that one, but I'm going to move on to a male energy next. So let's see, who do we have here? Somebody who walked away. Somebody who left. So there could be some abandonment in your life, in your childhood or youth. If there's somebody who left you, and by the way, I'm saying somebody, not like a man per se, because this might not actually be a man who did this. It's just that that's how it came through first. And then I realized it was more about the feeling it left me with as opposed to the person that I was describing. So somebody who abandoned you, whether or not they've made a comeback later in life is irrelevant, because this might not be the person who passed. It could be, but it could be just a message for you in general about abandonment. And because I have a few of those here that it's not about the person who passed, it's about the message that they're trying to say. So one of these spirits that is coming through is trying to talk about abandonment issues and how they are still affecting you to this day. So you may think that, oh, it wasn't that significant, or oh, it didn't affect me that much, or something about brushing it off or downplaying it, or maybe even being in denial about it from your past. But it actually affecting you more than you knew. So this person to abandon you didn't have to necessarily like up and leave and out of the picture, like that, the father who leaves kind of story. It didn't have to be that dramatic, although it could have been. It could have literally just been like a adult or a parent figure who just wasn't there for you emotionally in the way that you needed. And therefore, this is something that is still affecting you in some way. And I'm sure you know about it, how it affects you, and how it could relate to relationships with, codependency issues. Not to say you have any, I'm just saying that that's how it can manifest in a relationship years down the line. So, just to bring up the topic of it, I'm not going to delve into it much more than that. It is different for each of you. Some of you might not even relate to at all, actually. You might not have had any abandonment issues in your past. Who knows? It could be more modern, like in your love life or something. It could come up. So I think we all have abandonment issues to a degree, but where they came from may differ. So, okay, so there's that. I'm going to flip that over. Who do I have here? A young male. It could be a friend, a cousin, a brother, a acquaintance, a stranger that you kind of knew in the education system or something, or somebody that you knew in passing, somebody that you knew of through a friend. Because the reason I'm naming all these things is it doesn't seem like they were somebody that you were super close to. So I'd probably scratch the whole brother thing, because you'd probably be close to a brother. Yeah, no, this seems like somebody who you weren't very close to, unless it was a brother that you weren't living with, or that you barely knew about, like a half brother or something like that. But if you kind of catch my drift here, of it's not as close as somebody that you've spent time with every single day, kind of thing. What about them? I'm getting little things, but there's nothing that It seems like they are, let's say this isn't somebody that you know, hypothetically, this is one of your guides coming through. So just really, really quick, I want to touch base on the idea of a guide that is for the purpose of teaching you something, for a specific thing. That's what this one is. They're not a teacher guide, but they're a guide of teaching you a specific topic. I hope that made sense how I broke that down, because I can't think exactly of what the topic is. It's not coming to my mind, which means that it would vary for you guys depending on what it is. But you have a guide who has come through, is coming through, or will come through. Sometimes you just have to call them in, and you have to say, this is what your purpose is to help me with learning this thing. Let's say you want to learn a foreign language. Then you would pull in a guide that has their expertise in that foreign language. And you would, and I know this, it sounds weird because you're like, well, why don't you just learn the foreign language? But you know how guides are weird, right? They're sneaky. They'll align things in your path to help you learn better. So let's say you're like, I don't even know where to start. So you're asking friends. You're like, hey guys, what did you do? How's the best thing for you? And your guide comes in and goes, no, this is the best way. And they put something in your path. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should check this out. What is this? You check it out, and it happens to be the best thing since sliced bread. Well, that was the guide who lined that up. So that is how they work sometimes. And that is why it's helpful to work. So, when you ever hear the term work with your guides, or your guides are working with you, if you've ever heard us readers say those terms, that's what we're talking about. They're not just sitting there floating around with little wings and waiting for, I don't know what. They're doing stuff. So I don't know how they do what they do, but I know that they do line things up to be put in your path so that you see them. So this is somebody who, even if they're not a guide per se, but they're somebody who you knew that passed over, they're still doing the same thing. People who are like your ancestors can help you in those kind of ways as well. In fact, they are more, what would you say, interested in helping you than you would think, because they have a personal connection to you from this lifetime. So it's more than just a past lifetime where it's like, yeah, I know I've known you before, but this one is like, but I've known you in this one. Okay, let me see what else I get. Okay, I want to talk just very briefly about what's something that's called a negative guide. A negative guide is a guide that was brought in, or you brought in for a specific purpose, and now you don't need them anymore. And for some odd reason, they're still kind of like hanging out, and you have to do what's called firing them. You have to fire your guide. So if you don't need that guide anymore, then when you're done with them, release them and be like, so let's say, for example, it's like your email inbox. You got all these emails that you haven't read. They're sitting there unread about a certain topic of something you signed up for, thinking that you were going to do this and it would be a great idea, but you never did it. Well, that's how these guides are. They're like sitting around waiting for you to be like, okay, I need you now. And then they're like, oh, okay, finally. Well, if that day doesn't come that you're like, okay, I need you now, then they're just sitting around waiting. I don't know if that's how it really, really works, but that's the idea of negative guides. So just take a moment really quick in your own personal time to release and or fire, I like the wording, any negative guides that you may have that you needed for a specific purpose. This happens a lot in childhood, like you'll need a guide to help you get through a particularly hard time or something, and then as you get older you no longer need them anymore. Well, you still have that guide hanging out from your childhood because you never released them because you didn't know how to at the time. Okay, turning that card over, what else do we have here? Okay, let's go back to the female energy. Who are you and what do you want? Again, there's a lot of cups cards in here, so another connection to water. Let me just flip these over really quick. I want to see how many we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 cups cards in temperance. So 5 water cards out of 7. And then the other 2 are wands cards, fire. So we got a lot of water here coming through. Just FYI. So this other female card with the 3 on there is the Queen of Cups. Let me think here for a minute who this might be. Again, this feels similar to the last one that was the male energy, where I said they don't feel, well, in some cases this could be a sister, now that I think about it. This could be a sister or somebody that was like a sister to you. It doesn't have to be actual blood related to be the sister energy if you had that really close connection. You didn't have to be close, by the way, forever, like the whole time you knew each other. But to qualify for this, it seems like you would have had to have a time period that you were extremely close while they were alive, that you knew each other. Sometimes, I know this sounds really weird, but you can get closer after somebody passes because you can connect with their spirit, their energy, but that can only apply for some of you guys. This seems more like somebody that you knew in real life. So this person, there could be an incredible amount of grief and sadness that goes along with it. In some instances, This could have been a suicide and or something like an overdose or accidental. Could have been a car accident. It feels just very sudden, tragic, shouldn't have happened kind of thing. Also could have been an illness that just maybe wasn't supposed to go the way it did, or in the ways that it unfolded, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, so I think I've given enough descriptives. If this is not somebody that you knew in real life, like if this is ringing no bells, you knew nobody like this, it's simply a spirit guide that, and or this message might not apply to you, honestly. The message that comes through with it, which is about the sadness. And if you're having a hard time with grief, either over this person or just in general, somebody who passed, because that veil between life and death is very difficult to understand sometimes for people. So if you are somebody who struggles with understanding that veil, like if you personally don't really believe in the other side, or you don't know what to believe, or, you know, it's just like you can't connect with the other side at this time, just keep in mind, you know, these are things that take time to unfold, or for a lot of people, it happens because you have like a near-death experience, or some kind of out-of-body experience, or something that connects you with the other side to the point where you believe in it wholeheartedly. You have no reason that you couldn't, like you literally couldn't not believe in it, because it's just that vivid to you from your own personal experience. I consider those people lucky in that way, because they don't have to even try for their faith. It's just there. I'm one of those kind of people where I don't have to. I know about the other side. Like, I would bet money on it. I have no issue with my belief in it or anything. I might not know all the particulars, but for the most part, I think I have a pretty good handle on it. And I had a client the other day who told me that they were literally like terrified of death. And we had to like go over this, because it wasn't the actual dying process that she was afraid of. It was what is or isn't on the other side. So we just went through some scenarios of, well, what if it's this? What if it's this? What if it's this? By the end of the call, somehow, I don't know how I did it, but she felt like she wasn't terrified anymore. She still had some fear, but the difference between terrified and fear is immense. I would take fear over terrified any day of the week. So fear is something that you still have to continually process and work through. We all do, about different things. I think we are all going to have a fear of death to some degree until it happens, because unless you had a near-death experience and then you're just like, okay, I literally have no fear about it at all, because I've already been on the other side and came back, so I already know what's, you know, like there's nothing to fear at all, that kind of thing. Unless you've had that, I think we all have a little bit of a fear of death. But to be terrified of it, completely different. Well, here's my message from my friend the other night. So, or last night rather. My friend who was in the Navy, she committed suicide a couple months ago. And the person who notified me of it, because we hadn't kept in contact over the years, she is a devout Christian and believes that when you commit suicide that you go to hell. So she believes that my friend, or our friend, is in hell because she committed suicide. And my friend came to me in a dream last night and said she wanted me to tell my friend, my other friend who's alive still, a message that she's doing great, she's fine, she's happy, she's not in pain anymore, and those sorts of things. And even in the dream, I said to her, I can't tell her this. Like, she's not gonna listen, she's not gonna believe me. What's the point of me telling her, kind of thing. So she said, just do it. And I was like, okay. So I haven't done it yet because I'm sitting here mulling this over going, okay, how do I say this in some sort of way? I think I'm just going to say it really subtly and just be like, oh, hey, I had a dream about her last night and this is what she said. Anyways, have a great day. Bye. You know, because I don't feel like, I'm definitely not the preachy type. So I'm not going to sit here and try to like, it's, you know, to say it's proof that it was really her. I mean, how do you prove something like that anyways? But between you and me, that's all the proof that you could ever need. Other people, they wouldn't necessarily believe a dream as a definitive message like that, you know? So anyways, I just wanted to give that message to anybody who might have needed to hear it. Maybe that's something that you were fearful of or believed or something, and hearing it might help give some ease to the topic. Who knows? Either way, I'm going to move on from that one and go on to the very last message, which is from another masculine energy. Could even be two people, but maybe one's like an uncle and one's like a cousin or something. Because they seem connected, but they don't seem like brother-father energy necessarily. They seem more like a little bit more removed than that. If it is a guide, it doesn't really matter the gender, but it does feel like a guide that actually it feels like your gatekeeper guide, if I were to assign them to anything, because you have different guides: the teacher guide, the gatekeeper guide, the doctor guide. I forget the other ones off the top of my head because I haven't looked into it in the most recent of times. But the gatekeeper guide is the one that is honestly your best friend, because they're keeping anything from your energy, from your mind frame. You know, like if you ever have sleep paralysis and you feel like, some people describe it as something's like sitting on you, or sometimes people will get visuals in their face. They'll get like creepy images in their face. They'll see like the face of a man that looks like spooky or something like that. Then you need to be better friends with your gatekeeper guide, because that's what's going on. Is you have like, let's just say like a leak in your aura or something, maybe would be the right way to describe it, to where stuff's getting through. And I will say sometimes your guides do allow stuff like that to happen for the purpose of you learning that it's something that you need to work with. So it's, you know, they're not just bad at their job or anything. We wouldn't even know about a gatekeeper guide if we weren't allowed to see what is it like when you're not working with your gatekeeper guide. Oh, that kind of stuff. Okay, well, nobody wants that. So bring in the gatekeeper guide. Let's, bolster that relationship with them. Let me think here about this younger energy. Like I said, it could be like a cousin or something, or a close friend when you were children. Children meaning up until, I don't know, 20 maybe. Not even necessarily like little kids per se. They seem like an energy of youth. Like, I don't know why I'm getting rock band is one of the descriptive words that I'm getting for this person. Or somebody who's like into fitness a lot is another option. Somebody who would do something like climb mountains or like do something risky. I don't know. It's weird. They could have even passed on this way, but this is somebody's personality who would not have been destined to live a long life. Like, it just wasn't in the cards for them, literally. They would have had a tarot card reading, and the tarot card reader would be like, you're gonna die young because your personality is just super spunky, and like you can't sit still, you're never gonna settle down, you're just totally all over the place and wild. And that's the kind of energy that I'm picking up on that's coming through. So if that doesn't resonate with you at all whatsoever, just take the message of the Gatekeeper guide as what is your message. So I'm going to pull some visionary oracle cards just to kind of wrap up your guys' reading and see if there's anything we get from that. The visionary oracle, I used this on my last reading that I have on there, the relationship reading, which is also a general reading, which I don't know, lately I've been feeling like I haven't wanted to do the piles for some reason. It's like my energy just changes every now and then from what I've been doing, and I go, you know what, I'm gonna just do it different now. All of a sudden we got do nothing as your first card. Card number 4, do nothing. We have card 52, which is gratitude. We have card 29, which is ritual. And last is teacher, 61. So because we're on the topic of mediumship, I would say teacher could be your teacher guide coming through. The teacher card. Is there something that you're wanting to learn? Card 61. Is there something that you're wanting to learn? Because I would invest in your relationship with your teacher guide to try to, let's say, I'm going to use this card, do nothing. Like, don't think you have to do something in the physical world per se. Do something in the energy world for once. Try that. See how that works for you. Gratitude regarding your guides, I would say, when this card comes up. Like as if to say your guides are wanting to work with you, and have gratitude that you even know about guides, to be honest. Like some people, they'll order a reading with me and they'll be like, I don't know anything about my guides. I don't even know if I believe in them. You know, that sort of thing. Just be happy that you even know about your guides and that you have somewhat of a relationship with them, that you do. Even if you don't know about your relationship with your guides, I promise you that you have one. You just might not be as aware of it as somebody who has done meditations to work with your guides. And that was the very last thing I was going to say, which is ritual. Kind of feels to me like you should, like it says, by using ritual, we create space, meaning, and purpose. By taking time away from our day-to-day lives, connecting with ourselves, beauty, and the senses, we enter a space of wider perception. How can you invent a ritual to deepen your creative practice? And by creative practice, I mean relationship with your guides. I did this one meditation recently where it was like a 5-part series, and you don't do them every single day. You do one each day. And it was so weird. I saw people that were my quote-unquote guides, because it was a guide meditation where you meet your guides, but I didn't recognize them at all. And one of them was dressed in overalls. He looked like a farmer, and they were at a pumpkin patch, which this was months ago. It's like right now it's fall, but at the time that I did this meditation, it was like spring or summer. So it was interesting to me because they're sitting at a pumpkin patch, just kind of like under a tent. So, and they looked really modern day, except the fact that this guy's wearing overalls. I'm like, you're one of my guides and you're wearing overalls. You guys, they have a sense of humor like you just don't even know. So anyways, I would say the do nothing is important, because it's like, it doesn't take much to do this stuff, but it takes some effort. You have to set aside some time to actually do something, but not enough effort to where it takes up all your day, or that it takes a lot of effort while you're in the moment. It just means some effort. And so ask your teacher guide to put something in your path to help you to connect with your guides, and something that will help you to connect with mediumship if that is a personal interest of yours as well. And one last card to hit the road, and then we'll be done for today, which is constraints. I think we got this card the other day. So don't allow your daily constraints to keep you back. That's the biggest problem that I think people have, is they go, I just don't have time in my day to do this. Yes, you do. You can take 5 minutes or less to meditate every single day. I highly suggest you do. Meditation isn't some thing that is so hard to achieve that people think. Just because your mind is talking to you while you're trying to meditate doesn't mean that you're not being successful just by trying every single day. Put it on your clock or something on your phone to say meditate every day at like a certain time or something. It just make it part of your daily practice as opposed to an afterthought, like, oh, I really should do that. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be meditating. No, like, it needs to be like a part of your ritual that you do every single day. Meditate first. That is the precursor to meeting the guides and all this, because otherwise your brain's going to be too chattery and you're not going to be able to connect with mediumship or any of these other things. Okay? All right, cool. It's funny because I wasn't going to tell you guys all that about constraints, but then the card came out and I was like, I guess Spirit really wants to send it home. Like, no excuses, let's do this kind of thing. All right? Okay, I'm going to leave you guys there. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.